This week in Kuma's kitchen, we're going back to a little house on the prairie. Yeah, when I was living in Canada as a teenager, lived on a ranch, cattle ranch, and I loved making all like frontier foods. I got into a real kick for a while making sourdough breads and things. And we used to watch Little House on the Prairie. Now, one of the things they made at Little House on the Prairie was something they called blueberry pudding. It's not really a pudding. You can kind of see it there. It's more like a cake. It's kind of like a coffee cake. It's quite heavy though. It's quite nice that way. It's like a dense coffee cake. And I make it, the blueberry pudding, with a custard cream sauce on top. So my custard cream sauce is really yellow because my eggs are free-range eggs. I get super yellow yolks. So it depends on the color of your egg yolks as to what color your custard sauce is going to be. But they go real nice together. All right. You have a little patience when you're making the custard sauce. The cake is really easy to make, or pudding. Let's go in the kitchen and make some right now. First thing we're going to make is the blueberry pudding, or you can call it cake. And what goes in that is, first of all, the blueberries. So I've got 2 cups of blueberries here. Usually I would use fresh blueberries. A little bit hard to get here in Japan, especially this time of year. So I bought a bottle of blueberries, it's like canned blueberries, drained off the liquid, which I'm going to use for something else. And there's exactly 2 cups of blueberries there. 2 cups of flour. Then over here I've got 3/4 of a cup of sugar, but my usual unrefined cane sugar, which is the way I like my sugar. Over here, I've got 1 cup of milk. I've got 3 teaspoons of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 egg, and 2 tablespoons of butter melted. All right, very easy to make. First of all, we're going to toss all the dry ingredients into the big bowl. So we got the flour in there. We'll put in the sugar, the baking powder, salt, and the cinnamon. And then, with that, just gonna mix that up until I've basically combined it and distributed the powder, the sugar, and everything else throughout. Oh, it looks like it's pretty even. Put that off to one side. Now I'm going to take another bowl. First thing I want to do is toss the egg in there and whisk it up. So in goes the egg. Grab a whisk and just give that a good whisking until it's all smooth. That looks pretty good. Then I'm going to whisk in that butter. And then the milk. All right, that looks pretty good. It's easy to make. All right, so now what I'm gonna do, make a bit of a well in the middle of the flour mixture here. Pour this in. You know, this is like prairie cooking, so it's nothing fancy here. Pretty simple. All right, now just gonna slowly mix the wet into the dry. All right, so you got basically like a cake batter. And once that's mixed together, what I want to do now is I want to add in about 2/3 of the blueberries. It's not exact, but about 2/3 is good enough. The other third is going to be sprinkled across the top. So let's go with about like that. And then just gently mix that in to the batter. Just distribute it throughout. All right, that's looking pretty good. Okay, now what I've got here is a 9x9 cake pan. I've buttered it and then spread cooking paper in there, baking paper. So the buttering just holds it down so it's in place while I put this in there. So what we're gonna do now, just pour that batter into here. And to help me, grab my rubber spatula and just get that all out of there. I want all that goodness in the baking pan. All right, so now I'm going to take that and just spread it out evenly. Get that into the corners. All right, that looks pretty even. So now I'm just going to sprinkle these across the top. They're going to kind of drop down into the batter a bit as it bakes. All right, let's get those spread out even there. Now I like to just give them just a little head start. Push them down in there a little bit. And that's looking great. It's kind of like a little uneven, gives a little rustic texture to it. All right, that's going to go in the oven over there, 375 degrees Fahrenheit, 190 degrees Celsius. Going to bake that for about 30 to 40 minutes and give it the toothpick test. All right, while the pudding is baking in the oven, we're going to make the custard cream sauce. Now the custard cream sauce, I've got 4 egg yolks. And I've got a third of a cup of that, my usual sugar, but it is my usual unrefined cane sugar. Any sugar will do. I've got 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. Then here, I've got 3/4 cup each of heavy cream, which is 35% or more, and milk. So 3/4 cup of each. What I want to do now, first thing I want to do is, first of all, let's get these guys into my little saucepan here. Get the cream in there, get the milk in there. And I want to heat them up, but you notice that I've got it on the smallest burner because that burner goes to the lowest because I don't want to heat this up too much. I just want to bring it up to it's just hot, but not about to boil. We don't want that. We don't want to scald the milk. So let's bring that up on very low, very gentle, very careful. All right, while that's heating up, I'm going to take a bowl, going to put the egg yolks in there, whisk them up a bit. Oh, look at that deep, this is beautiful eggs. These come from organic farm and free-range chickens, so they get to eat all kinds of good stuff. Lots of nutrition in those eggs. I have these for breakfast a lot. I love them. Add the vanilla, add in the sugar. Get that all ready. All right, now that's nice and smooth. And now I just wait for that milk to heat up. All right, so little tiny pinprick bubbles are just starting to appear around the edges a little bit, start to skin a bit. That's good enough for now. Just gonna move that over here, keep that flame anyways. So what I want to do now, you have to be very careful with this. You don't want to add this egg straight into that hot, and you don't want to add all that straight into here. So while I'm whisking, just a little bit of hot milk. Mix that in, a little bit more, without making too much of a mess. What's this doing is tempering the eggs so that we're not going to curdle on us when they hit all that hot milk. Keep going, keep going. Oh yes. Some more in there. I like to go with about half before I add it into here. So now, back onto the heat. And now, this is going to go in here. I'm just like whisking all the time. Whisking, whisking, whisking. Now I'm just going to keep whisking. This might take about 5 minutes or so. What I'm going to do is kind of keep doing this until it starts to thicken. Basically, when it starts to coat, coat the back of a spoon or anything like that, that's when you're ready. We don't need it too thick, but we need it thick enough that it's going to kind of go nicely pour across our pudding. All right, it's starting to thicken up now. It's been about 4 or 5 minutes, somewhere in there. You can see it's thickening there. You also be careful, it keeps wanting to boil. So what you're going to do is sometimes you have to take it off the heat just a little bit. Don't let it boil. Keep stirring. Back to the heat again. Whisking, whisking, whisking. All right, going to give it the spoon test. So, just going to take a spoon, dip it in there, and, well, it's kind of coating it. It could go a little bit longer. So just a little bit more. But we're getting there. It's tasting good. All right, so look at that. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. It's a bit thicker now. I like that. All right, so I'm going to let that sit there for a bit. Cool down to the point where it won't incinerate your mouth. And I think our pudding is about to come out of the oven. All right, so that's been 30 minutes in the oven. Yeah, looking really nice. Nice bit of browning there. Just give it the toothpick test. Go in somewhere. Well, that's coming out clean. Let's take one more. That is perfect. All right. So there it is. We have Little House in the Prairie blueberry pudding with custard cream sauce. Mwah! It's going to be delicious. Dessert tonight. All right, if you like this recipe, stick around. There's a lot more here on YouTube. Also, make sure you subscribe because there's a new one coming out every Monday. And these are all original Kevin Riley Kuma's Kitchen recipes. Now, also, if you're not yet a patron of Kuma's Kitchen, well, consider becoming one because for as little as $3 a month, you can be supporting the creation of more and more of these original recipes and recipe videos here on YouTube. And also, you get all the cool stuff that the patrons get. Now, go make this and make cooking fun again in Kuma's Kitchen.